Hi, I'm Matt Granger, an international photographer and lifelong seafood fanatic. Join me as I eat my way around the globe, trying everything along the way. From fine dining to street food, from local favourites to gigantic platters, fish markets to five-star hotels. I try the classic staples and the exotic delicacies.
Is it a joke or?
All in search of the world's best seafood.
Now, if you're a food buff, especially a Japanese food or sushi buff, you'll have heard of this. We're not going to the original Jiro in Ginza, we're going to his son Takashi's restaurant in Roppongi. I've been trying to get a reservation here every time I come for years, haven't had a chance. This time got lucky, so I'm bringing along my co-host Tina to have what's reputed to be the first or second best sushi in the world. And what makes the best sushi? It's a hard question to ask. The dad's been making sushi for like 80 years, just refining the process little by little. And he's got 3 Michelin stars. I believe the son's newer restaurant already has 2 as well. Now, you know, there's so many legends about this place. They have the best fishmonger at the best fish market in the world, and they keep the best cut for this one restaurant, that they massage the squid for 50 minutes before they cook it, that they cook all the prawns to order, and that every single ingredient is temperature controlled and put together at different times. So say the shrimp should be a little bit warmer than the hamachi, so it'll be taken out a little bit earlier to get up to room temperature, so when it hits your plate, it's ready to eat. This is 30,000 yen per person before you add anything, so that's over $300. I'm just hoping it doesn't spoil me and I can still appreciate other sushi in the future. Let's go have a look.
The first thing that you notice as you walk in, it's quaint and small, and they've got fish in the bowl there. It's nice old styling, but it's kind of modern as well. When you step inside, you realize it's tiny. The bar sits about 8 people, and then there's 2 booths behind that. We had a strict 1-hour reservation for our booking, and being 5 minutes early, they actually held us back for the table. Amazing to see that all of the chefs working flat out. There was 5 of them just for the small number of us. There was only 6 of us there at the lunch sitting that we had, so 5 staff and 6 customers. A woman tried to come in and get a table off the street, and they wouldn't let anyone else in. So I'm surprised there was actually only 20,000 yen. The wasabi they're using there, it's traditional, but they're using the metal modern grater instead of the traditional shark skin one. Kick things off, a little bit of ginger. Everyone got green tea, no alcohol for this one. We actually went along for the nigiri set. So it was a set menu all the way through until you get to the second last, and then they give you options of what you'd like to have. First up, this one is Flounder. Now, like any fantastic restaurant, they apply the wasabi and then brush it with soy sauce so it's ready to eat as soon as it hits the table, although they don't mind if you wanted to add things to it. Traditionally, you'd hold it by hand and eat it like that, but you could use chopsticks if you wanted. Next up, this one is taco, or octopus. Really thick, generous piece, and amazingly, it was delicate and not at all chewy. It was about half an inch thick and then cut to match the shape of the rice. Just a beautiful sheen. Next up is a type of sardine. They call it gizzard shad. It's really, really thin-skinned, it's slightly oily, and they're really particular with it. Get every little bit of skin, sinew, and bone to make sure you only get the good fish. Next up, here's a couple of others that I had actually missed for taking video of. That's a huge scallop. It's a cross-section of the scallop. It's so huge, it's like the size of a hockey puck. This is maguro, the red tuna, the least fatty part of the tuna. Then this one is chutoro, that's medium fatty tuna, and it's included in the set. Here we go, whitefish, and then salmon eggs. These were just amazing. Not the usual fishy flavor or just standard salty water. It was really beautiful, delicate flavor. But that said, I was surprised at the workmanship on this. The assistant chef made this one instead of the head chef, and it was just kind of loosely packed and falling apart. At any other restaurant, I wouldn't mind at all, but at something that's meant to be one of the top in the entire world, I thought the workmanship was a bit sloppy. Time to eat the gizzard shad. It was, as you'd expect, delicious. Next up is one they referred to as giant clam. It looks like arc shell, to be honest. They cut it really finely to tenderize it. It was moving a little bit still just from the reflex. It was actually surprisingly tender and not chewy like these normally are. Next up is one of their flagships, which is the giant prawn or tiger shrimp. They're famous for this one. They cook each individual prawn to order, so it's at the exact temperature they want it to be. And they serve it in 2 pieces because it's so big. They recommend you eat the tail first because the head section has the most flavor. Honestly, it was the most amazing I've ever tried. We get great prawns in Australia, but this was just astounding. None of the seafood tasted salty or fishy. It just tasted of the individual flavor of that ingredient. Next up is uni or sea urchin, which splits people. Some love it or hate it, but if you've had really good uni, you'll love it. This was some of the best I've ever had. It was so creamy, so delicious, and the pieces were just enormous. They were really generous with it as well. And, you know, I'm a big fan of uni. I've had lots of different ones around the world, and truly this would be the best or equal best I've had anywhere in the world. Just outstanding. Next up is Saba, or what we would call mackerel. It's a slightly oily fish, but again, just as good as I've ever tasted. As you'd expect at a restaurant like this, the flow of the courses was just timed out perfectly. They're really paying attention and modulating the service to keep up with the appetite of the diners. And of course, the way the flavors follow on from each other was, you know, just masterful. Next up, the kitchen hand brought out the anago, all ready to go. And note, in a lot of Western places they serve unagi, but that's freshwater, and a traditional sushi bar will only serve sea-based seafood. So this one, anago, is the seawater eel, and this was just amazing. It melted apart. All the tiny bones you often find weren't there, and a much more delicate flavor than I've had anywhere else. My friend Tina was trying to grab some grab shots of these enormous uni, and they actually brought over the entire box for us to have a look at. And having seen what a box of half that size uni sells for, let alone being the world's top quality ones, I stagger at how much that box must cost. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. As we got towards the end of the meal, they brought out an extra box of the different special items available for that day only.
This is a steamed abalone, hard shell clam, small scallops, giant clam, king clam, octopus, flounder fin, most fatty too. If you would like to any more, please try new fish or repeat your favorite fish you eat already. Or some raw sushi. But these are extra. Please you decide.
Surprisingly, I think I was the only one who ordered the steamed abalone. It was so nice, so tender. We got our favorites from the course again, the medium fatty tuna. Also, we got the fattiest tuna. We also got the squid leg. This is the one that's famous for them marinating and massaging for almost an hour. It was all just outstanding. Interestingly, the head chef told us to keep chewing the squid for way longer than you normally would, and you should start to taste scallops and prawns. I kinda could. It certainly got more complex. Next, it was time for another piece of the chutoro. We both absolutely loved this one. Probably the best on the menu. In our opinion, you can see the reaction on my friend Tina's face. Just outstanding. Here they are cutting up the steamed abalone for me. Taking a look at the cross section, it's remarkable. Nothing I've had like this before. Really nice. Here's the otoro, the fattiest part of the tuna. You probably have heard that it's melt in your mouth. The reason for that is it's actually literally melting in your mouth because the fat of tuna melts at a really low temperature. So once it is in your mouth, it does start to dissolve. This was fantastic. I'm not a big fan of fatty fish, but the best I've ever had. I also had another piece of anago. Here's a little bit of food porn for you as the sauce drips off. And then it was up to the last course, which they always finish, is their special steamed egg. Now this is a special recipe and totally different texture and flavor to any egg or omelette you've had at Japanese before. This is just egg and then ground mountain yam. There's no fillers, no milk, no flour. It's really something else. It's more like a cake in texture. Really, really special.
So I feel like we just shared something special. What did you think of the food?
Oh my god. It was like melt in your mouth. It's like the best sushi I've ever had. Inside I was amazed. Now I sort of feel really sad and depressed and I don't want to eat anything after because I just want that to stay in my stomach.
Oh. Look, I got to say, I've eaten at a lot of fancy sushi bars. A couple of the fish were like outstanding, much better than I've had anywhere else. The uni was really, really special. The anago was probably the best I've had anywhere, I think. Also the steamed abalone, just amazing. I'd say every single one we had was the best or second best I've ever had. But I've got to be 100% honest, I think the hype didn't help a little bit. Maybe I was expecting even more. And my favorite sushi bar in Tokyo, which is also a high-class one, is less than half the price, and I really think it's 95% as good. But, you know, as someone who uses Hasselblad cameras and Zeiss Otis lenses, that last couple of percent to get towards perfection always comes at a big premium. I hope you can get a table if you're into this kind of thing, but if you're not really into sushi, I would skip it because it's a fairly subtle difference between that and the next best one, and you may not notice it unless you really, really love your sushi. Thanks, guys. Glad you could join us. Bye.
Subscribe for a seat at the table.